Alright guys, welcome back to another episode of Read React Review, and I'm back in my library already, and I'm not going to waste any more time with it. We're jumping right back into Sol Terra, the second book, and I'm going to continue with reading chapter 1. Now let me see, I last stopped at right at the end of Fellows right here. Cal pulled his inhibitor cuffs out of his pocket and started after it. Alright, so last we stopped off, we know that the Soshan, he ended up getting his Soshan outside, and he ended up disabling it from the feline form it was in. It was in a kind of an alien form. It was in a giant cat with scales and long claws, I think. But he hit it with a mental blast and managed to get it out of that form. So it turned back into a slug and it ran away. So now he's chasing back after it. The Soshan slithered out of the quad and across the parking lot. A thick slime trail followed in its wake. Cal ran after it, being sure to keep clear of the mucus. They passed through another quad, the Soshan keeping to the edges where the eaves of the surrounding buildings offered some shelter from the area pursuers. As Cal shouted to the students up ahead to get out of the way, a resounding siren began to wail from a nearby complex. Right, so okay, so we're back to Pia here now. We know that she had gotten knocked out when he searched and had hit her away in the library. Pia lay on the floor for a moment, gasping, with the broken plastic of a keyboard digging into her back. Vaguely she was aware of Cal calling her name, but she didn't have the breath to answer. The sound of crashing ensued, but it was getting further away. After a few moments, the library was quiet. Pia pushed herself gingerly up, pressing her hand against her ribs, which had taken the brunt of the force when she landed. They were tender to the touch and most likely bruised, but she was almost certain nothing was broken. Pulling herself up with the desk, she surveyed what was left of the library. Cal was nowhere in sight. She guessed the Soshan had followed him, for it was also gone. She straightened up and tested the movement in her arms and legs. A little sore, but nothing to cry over. Stepping over the broken mud. Oh my god, hold on guys. No, I need to get some water here. Jeez, my throat is dry already. Ooh, jeez. I really underestimate how reading so much can really have an impact on your voice. Jeez. Alright, so I'll add some water. Voice is back a bit. No cracks. Let's continue. Alright, now what? She asked herself. She had to find Cal before he could get himself injured. Breaking into a slow jog, she headed for the door. If only we could pin the damn thing down. Then Cal could cut it off. Oh. Okay, so I think that's a little error. It has a little our bracket at the end there. Continuing. She contemplated calling animal control, but doubted they would arrive in time. She passed through the foyer, avoiding the gouge marks on the floor, and made it outside, pausing briefly. She looked to left and right, but she wasn't sure which direction Cal had run in. As she jogged into the parking lot, a shiny smear on the tarmac caught her eye. A Soshan slime trail. The creature had reverted to its natural form. Pia knew nothing about the Lapan cat monster, nothing that would help them stop it, but she knew of Soshan's weakness. Turning to the left, she sprinted in the direction of the commons. With lectures still in progress, the fine weather outside, the shaded commons was empty, save for the staff at the small cafe. Pia raced up to the counter, slapping her palms down on the surface to stop herself. The barista looked at her with a raised eyebrow as she sucked in her breath. "Salt," she gasped, trying to ignore the stitch that had flared up in her side. She shouldn't have eaten that extra slice of toast for breakfast. I need all your salt. You just have these. He motioned to a mug on the counter, containing a number of small pepper sachets. Pia grabbed the whole lot in a fistful and held it up. It would amount to a few tablespoons at most. "It's not enough." She dropped the sachets back into the cup. "Sorry," the barista said with a shrug, We're not a restaurant. The food comes in a truck. Pia cast her eyes around. She backed away from the counter and turned, scanning the room for anything that could be useful. Her eyes landed on the bright red panel on the wall marked fire hose. Hurrying over to it, Pia wrenched open the door and began hauling the hose out. Whoa, hold up! The barista ducked out from behind his counter and ran over to her. You can't do that, mate. Wait, thinking. So you see Pia again, obviously being the one here to, think rationally, think logically. I mean, she was the one who assisted in injuring the Soshan the first time they had met, and also helping to capture it and saving her, and it looks like she's doing the exact same thing here again. So most definitely, those two are going to, end back up together in some other missions. This is good. She rammed her elbow into the glass panel to shatter it, then flicked the switch. Instantly, the blare of the alarm filled the room. Pia returned to the stunned barista and took the hose off him, aiming it at the wide double doors. What the hell are you doing? The barista demanded, trying to take the hose off her. She pulled free of him. Stand aside. Who are you? Pia turned to him with a determined glare. Pulling the blue badge out of her pocket, she held it up. I'm a vanguarder. Now move. You see, she's already fitting into the role of a vanguarder. Even though she initially didn't want to do it, she's just falling into it. Maybe she was just being stubborn because, she felt salty how Carl had left her the first time. So yeah. She couldn't tell whether he was shocked or confused, but he backed off, and that was all Pia cared about. We'll come back up. She turned back to the door in time to see them burst open and the Soshan in its slug form slither through. It half crossed the commons before its saw hand came to a halt. Its stalk eyes locked onto the hose in her hands, and Pia could almost see it trying to figure out if it was a weapon. Evidently it decided that she was bluffing because it resumed its charge. Pia pulled back on the lever and for a moment nothing happened. Then the hose, trailing behind her, kicked and bucked, and water rocketed from the nozzle, almost wrenching it out of her hands. Pia held on and directed the burst at the Soshan, who caught the full force of the water on its belly and was thrown backwards. She pinned it to the corner, keeping the pressure on it so it could not escape. Carl raced in through the doors, jumping over the slime trail and skipping aside to avoid the jet of water. As soon as Pia saw him, she shut off the water. The wall in the corner was soaked and a pool spread around their feet. The Soshan lay half on its side, eye stalks drooping and mouth lolling open. Carl moved over it, water splashing out of the carpet with each step, and held up his inhibitor cuffs. He slipped the Pia together, opening them out into one large band, and locked it around the Soshan's middle. The green light along the side activated and the Soshan slumped in defeat. Yep, so they got it. They got it. And thanks to Pia again. Cal turned to Pia, a grin spreading across his face. Her own smile tugged at her mouth, and soon she was grinning with him. The fire alarm suddenly shut off, bringing with it a ringing silence. What is wrong with you people? Pia turned to see the barista. He stood next to the alarm switch, his hands gripping his hair and pulling on it so hard his eyebrows had been dragged upward into an oddly shaped arcs. What am I supposed to tell my boss? Pia shrugged. How about, you're lucky I didn't get eaten by a Soshan today. Yeah, the paperwork on this workplace injured. Blah blah blah. Let me read that better. The paperwork on workplace injuries is a right bitch, Cal added. The barista looked from one to the other, mouth hanging open, and is here in real danger of sudden force removal. Releasing the strands, he pointed at them and the Soshan. You're both crazy. That thing's crazy. I'm going home. He took off his apron and threw it down, where it quickly turned into a sopping rag, then marched out a side door. Cal and Pio watched him go before turning back to each other. They shared a momentary bemused expression before bursting into laughter. We should probably go. Before the fire department gets here, Pia said, once she had stopped laughing enough to form words again. And the army? I think they're outside. Cal turned back to the Soshan. All right, you. On your feet. Or foot. The Soshan wiggled and squirmed itself back into an upright position, its tentacles wrapped under the cuff, along its middle, wiggled against its sides. Cal tapped a button on the cuff around its own wrist, and the matching green lights appeared along it. As he started walking back outside, the Soshan was tugged along behind him. Pia moved to his side, stepping quickly to get out of the water before it could soak his shoes completely. I'm going to have to take that one back to Tintavo, Cal began, as they crossed another quad, avoiding the students who had all flocked to the fire evacuation zones. Pia glanced over her shoulder to the Soshan, following them quietly. Yep, I guess you are, she said with a nod. Oh, there are some quotation marks I don't think are supposed to be there, but okay. So, do you want to come with me? She turned to look up at him, and the hopeful grin on his face. What do you say, Lockhart? Want to ride to the capital? Pia stopped. They were in the parking lot, and a car was in the next row over. She could feel the old excitement coming back, the flush of success and the eagerness of the next challenge. She knew Cal had planned it that way. He knew that one taste would be enough to remind her that life on one planet just wasn't as much fun as it used to be. Sometimes she wondered if he could read her mind after all. She turned to Cal. Get your prisoner somewhere secure, she said, handing back the scanner she had brought from the lecture hall. Get your prisoner somewhere secure, she said, handing back the scanner she had brought from the lecture hall. Cal's smile faltered slightly. Then come see me this afternoon. It took him a moment to register what she had said. His grin returned, and he offered her a salute. Pia turned her back on him with a small smile, then hurried to her car. Once the Soshan was locked securely in the prison hold, Cal bounded back to the main deck. It had taken a few hours to get them both back to the Radian. Not Radian, sorry, I'm thinking Star Wars. To the Raiden. He had parked the shuttle outside the university, but at some point it had been moved. The walk to the tow yard had taken a long time, with the depressed slug being dragged along behind. Even so, Cal had refused to let the day be ruined. He had shoved the Soshan into the shuttle and flown it back to where the Raiden waited in orbit. It was closer to evening by the time Cal made it back down to Terra. He approached Pia's house, as he had that morning, and knocked on the door. This time when Pia answered, she waved him inside and led him through the house and out into the back porch. Cal could sense palpitations of annoyance coming from the other room, and guessed that Pia had already told her mother he would be coming. They sat at a small table on the deck, as the last of the golden light flooded over the rooftops. For a moment, there was silence between them, and Cal wished, not for the first time, that he could still hear her emotions. But Pia had maintained the shields he taught her to place around her mind, and he sensed nothing from her. Okay, pause there for a moment. So you mentioned before that Carl's an empath and he's able to read people's emotions and basically read their minds in a way. But there is a way that some methods where they're able to, teach people to block their minds, to block their emotions from being read. And I guess Pia still has that ability. She, kept it up unconsciously. Yeah, that's what I was looking for. Unconsciously, she kept up that mental shield. That's cool. Pia took out the Vanguard badge and laid it on the table between them. Leaning back in a chair, she directed her gaze at him. Cal, why do I have this? He looked down at the badge, then looked back to her face. I told you, it's yours, if you want it. I'm not qualified to be a Vanguarder. After everything you've done, you're better qualified than anyone. It is true, it is true. Cal, she looked at him patiently, placing a hand on top of the badge. They didn't ask me to join. They asked you. So why do I have this? Cal exhaled, leaning back also. Because I asked for it. He ran a hand through his hair. Vanguarders don't work alone. And like I said, I'm not one for big teams. And you just happened to get offered a job on Terra? She raised an eyebrow at him. All right, I asked for the assignment, he admitted with a huff. I tried coming here to tell you about the offer. He ran a hand through his hair. Thought it might be easier this way. For future reference, she placed her hands flat on the table. Phone calls are preferable to off-worlders tearing up your school. She leaned back again. So the Vanguarders. I'm guessing you didn't take the job because of how much you love tracking down search gens. Is this because of what happened in Alasia? Alasia's gone, Carl said, shaking his head. Everything that happens in the Union goes through a half-dozen courts in Tintavona. Then what is it? She cocked her head to the side. Carl paused, leaning forward and placing his elbows on the table. He started to speak, then stopped himself. Choosing his words, he replied, Have you ever wondered if they were onto something? Pia looked at him, eyebrows pulling together. The Elysians? She shook her head. Cal, they were all crazy. Wait, what's his name? Vorgenza? Vorgenza and her boss were insane. They were trying to conquer the universe based on some fairy tale. But they have a point. He leaned in closer, eyes locked on her. Look, I'm not saying that they had it exact, but what if they were on the right track? And there's a master race out there somewhere, an original life form. It could be possible. He pressed a palm against her forehead. She pressed a palm against her forehead and ran it back through her hair with a sigh. Does it matter? Why is it so important to you? Why? He pulled back. The fervor went from his voice and it became serious. Because there has to be a reason. Everything they did to your planet, to mine, there has to be a reason for it. I refuse to believe it was all for nothing. Nothing but fairy tales. Pierre bit her lip and looked away. Maybe you need to let this go. Cal's eye narrowed as he stared at her. Don't tell me to let this go, when you obviously haven't. She turned back to him. Look, I haven't forgiven them for what they did to my planet, or my family, and I never will. But I'm not running away from it anymore. No, you're running towards it. What's that supposed to mean? You changed your major to genetics research. Are you telling me that has nothing to do with Elysia? Pierre settled back into her seat, folding her arms. Vorgenza talked about controlling her armies. That reset serum was supposed to make us all docile and cooperative. She never got to use it. But if there's some trigger in our DNA just waiting to turn us all into puppets, I want to know. And I want to be ready. Cal leaned forward again and waited until her eyes met his. Then come with me. She exhaled. looking away. Look, if you want to learn about genetics, I can teach you. I used to be a scientist, remember? Besides, your lecturer was an idiot. And you know, there's only so much you can do in a lab. Anyway, and, alright, she cut him off, holding back a small laugh. You've made your point. Well, he prompted when she fell silent. Where I see it, I don't have much choice, do I? Someone's got to look after you. Cal didn't bother to hold back his grin, sorry. Theo smiled and shook her head. Right, well, we should go. He jumped to his feet. I left old Sluggy in the ship's hold, but it's not really built for long-term containment. Hold up, Pia stood also, grabbing her badge back off the table and pocketing it. First, I need to pack. Whew. Alright guys, so that's the end of the chapter here. As you can see, I have voted on it because this is a good chapter. I enjoyed it. I thoroughly enjoyed it. And like as I said, I already knew that, Pia was eventually going to agree to join Cal again and go on their missions. And also, where we saw the first book left off, we know that the Elysians, they had done some experimenting, and they were the ones who seeded different planets and, created life on different planets. But they had also put a genetic key within the species of different, into the DNA of different species, to at one point turn them all into docile followers, as mentioned there. And they did that because they believed that another alien race, the ones who originally created everything, was going to come back. And they wanted to be ready to fight those aliens off. But this was a good chapter. It had action. The dialogue was good. The characters of Cal and Pia, they were already established from book 1, so there's not much to complain about there. I already know their backstory, their motivations, their reasons behind what they're doing. So it's all good. I like this chapter. It's a long one, but then again, this is the first chapter, and like I said before, each chapter in this book is like a self-contained story. It's like an episode in a continuing series, a full hour-long episode. So this was good. So next time I will be starting chapter 3, and also keep an eye out because I will be going on to starting some other stories alongside this. So I'm not just going to be continuing with this alone, but other stories as well. So you guys keep an ear out. If you guys like this chapter, don't forget to check out the original author, C.A. Harland. Give his page a review, see what other books he has, give him a shout out, let him know what you think about his work if you liked it. And also don't forget to leave a comment and a like on this video if you liked it and want to hear more from this. Alright guys, thank you, and I will see you guys later. Peace.